You can spread out too. No Greg. Savannah.
Oh. The other one, we got to talk. Oh, really? Yes. You mean actually? That's the one
You ready to broadcast?
you
15 seconds.
I just told me y'all had a little problem with your building. I saw it today.
Angry voters. Yeah, he was there the next day. Aren't you guys ready to start streaming? Okay. Not you. Yeah. I'd like to call this Whitfield County Board of Commissioners meeting to order for the 9th day of June, 2022. Please silent or mute your cell phones. I ask all that are able to please rise for our invocation by Commissioner Robbins, followed by the pledge. May 9th. I don't know what I said. Go ahead.
Good.
Yep.
Let's pray. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for living this wonderful community of Whitfield County. Dear Heavenly Father, we just pray that tonight we will deliberate and be pleasing, and all of our decisions be pleasing to you. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for what you do for us. Forgive us where we fail you. Bless us as we go forward in this meeting. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May the record reflect we have 4 commissioners present. Commissioner Jones is out of town. The commissioners and the public were made aware of an agenda approximately 6 days ago. There is one change we need to make. That's removal of item 14A related to an HVAC system. We do not have the quote in time. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the one amendment?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. There's one item in the consent agenda. That's what we started last month, and that's related to our budget amendments. So any expenditures or purchase agreements agreed to last month are now approved for our auditors, and the budget is amended according to the previous vote. The minutes were also sent out about 6 days ago. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes? Are there any adjustments or amendments to the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Motion by Commissioner Thomas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. All in favor, or any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. All right, this is where we recognize an employee of the month, and it is Keith Hall from our Buildings and Grounds. Will his supervisor come forward with Mr. Hall? Chuck, you want to tell us a little bit about Keith?
Well, Keith's been an employee for...
Closer to the mic.
Yeah, Keith has been an employee since 2004. Of August, right? I mean, he's a good employee. He's an example of how to come to work and finish the day whenever the job's done. And we're just proud that somebody nominated him. And I would say that for, any of our employees.
Great. Thanks for what you do, Keith. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is our public hearings, but there aren't any scheduled for this month. So next is our commissioner's report. And I always like to start that off by going over our strategic objectives, which is to communicate better with you, our public, by improving these meetings and our transparency. We want to modernize our government and make it more engaging for the employees. We also want to focus on better paying jobs, not just more jobs. We want to reduce our property tax and improve our relations between the cities and the counties. I'm happy to announce that we are nearly finished. We're putting just the interior touches on our animal shelter, which was part of the SPLOST of 2020. So we are announcing our grand opening is June 10th. That's a Friday at 5:30. That's out on Gillespie Drive, which is off of Hill Road, near the Public Works building. If you've been out there, that's where the animal shelter is. We built the new expansion, I guess you might want to call it, not really replacing the current one, but a great expansion where we can have an adoption center and really be able to handle more dogs, to triage, and to really facilitate a great interaction with the public. So we're looking forward to having that about a month from Friday, June 10th. And then, as you probably know, there's countywide elections coming up on May 24th. We have one early voting day left on a Saturday. Early voting is continuing through the week, but on Saturday, there's this coming Saturday, May 14th, from 9 to 5. And the reason I bring that up is we would like to offer free rides to the polls. We tried this last year with the municipal election in Dalton, and it was pretty successful. And so now we're expanding that to the countywide, which of course includes state races on there, the governor, Senate, and all our commissioners, as well as the Board of Education races. So if you would like a free ride, you just call that number anytime between now and, let's say, Friday afternoon, and we'll come pick you up on Saturday and take you to the courthouse and return you at no charge. If there's a group, like a neighborhood or a church, we're happy to meet you there and transport the whole group down to the courthouse. So kind of make it a little civic thing. But senior citizens or people that just have trouble getting out to the polls, we want to help them on this coming Saturday. So hopefully you take advantage of that. And now for the rest of the commissioners. Commissioner Thomas, is there anything you want to report on, your boards, or anything on your mind?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we were all in Savannah. Some good education meetings there. A couple of the meetings I went to, economic development and also county government law, and really opened my eyes to some stuff that I wasn't aware of. So it's really, really good time there.
Yep. Commissioner Staten, anything for you?
Nothing to add this month.
Commissioner Robbins.
No, nothing to add.
Okay. Got a report from our county administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, members of the public. What I want to talk about this month is something that we're going to be kicking off, so to speak, like the animal shelter, but not a facility, but more of a program. Some of you may have heard about the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law that was passed last year by the Congress. Most of the funding for that deals with things such as transportation infrastructure, roads, highways, some public transportation. But, and I have two different sources. One says $45 billion, another says $65 billion has been set aside to increase access to high-speed internet. Regardless of whether it's 45 or 65 billion, it's a heck of a lot of money. And it's being designed to allow folks who have 200% or less of the federal poverty level. And to give you a perspective, for a family of four, that would be families that are earning $55,000 a year or less. So it would cover a number of our residents, which is very important. I like to compare the status of internet access today, much like the status of electricity was 100 years ago. it's no longer a luxury item. It really is a necessity for people to be able to participate in our economy. The pandemic brought that to light, not only when we're talking about people working from home, but particularly for youngsters who need to go to school remotely. And it appears that a lot of schools across the country are incorporating that into, and I know it's not so much a problem here in the South, but snow days may become a thing of the past up north, because instead they'll have school over the internet. But the roadblock that we have is a lot of folks in our community and throughout the country don't have access to high-speed internet. There's a number of internet service providers that are participating in this. And what we are doing in Whitfield County, this is an event just for our county, is through the Thrive Regional Partnership. And for those of you who don't know, Thrive Regional Partnership is a consortium of 16 counties located in southeast Tennessee, northwest Georgia, and northeast Alabama that are combining our resources to be able to go ahead and to get as much of this funding as possible for our residents. So we hope that in the next year, lack of access to internet will be a thing of the past. So we fully intend to take advantage of this federal program to get the resources we need for the people of Whitfield County. Unless you have any other questions, that's the end of my report.
No, I know the commissioners last year said that was a priority to focus on the sewers and the broadband, and so we're going to apply for every grant that we possibly can and do what we can with the local partners here to provide this better speed for sure.
Just as an analogy, we're looking under the seat cushions for every nickel we can find.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, our finance director.
Okay, March revenue results and expenditures we're looking at here. Our local option sales tax, one of our two largest monthly drivers, is up 9.75% greater than prior year collections to this point in time. TAVT is up 10.25%. I'm sorry, that's actually the opposite. TAVT is down 10.25% through the same time frame of last year, but actually was 14.25% higher than last month, than February. So a little bit of variation there. So the year-to-date revenue, however, is 1% up over this point through last year at $8.5 million. Our expenditures, $11.7 million, up 4% over this time last year.
Yeah, we don't want that one to be up, that arrow, we want that to be down.
What's that?
The expenses, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that one.
So here's a graphical representation of what we've just discussed on our revenues through March 31st. The blue being actual and versus our projected, a little bit higher there, and over last year's actual. We're higher by about $454,000. It looks like a much larger spread, but that's just the graphics there. And that difference is mainly due to increased lost receipts, local option sales tax. But then there are two other drivers there. ARP reimbursements through March 31st that the board had approved and planned for reimbursement of approved expenditures. There's been some inflow or transfer of ARP money from where it's accounted for in one fund into the general fund. And then the board approved the removal of the library and its revenue stream and funding from the special tax district into the general fund. So with that move, you had a budgeted set aside and revenue from the tax collections for the special tax district moved into the general fund to help support that funding. So that also made it a little bit higher. So these are total year-to-date total expenditures, again, graphically depicted there. Our actual in blue, the first column, almost $11.7 million, higher than the projected, and versus the actual. The A lot of that is salaries and benefits and inflationary cost increases as far as current through this year versus last year, why it's higher. Basically, overall, with the general fund, we're still on budget. There is about $444,000 that expenditures through March are higher than what was budgeted or projected. Whenever possible, our projections are based on spending patterns, but for the most part, when you're comparing the budget, you take it on 1/12. So we've got, through March, we've got this much budgeted at 1/12, and we had a few departments that had some expenditures not exceeding budget. And departmentally, of course, no one has exceeded that which the board approved in December for this year's operating budget. But those were a little bit higher. And so you might have had a department that, for instance, said, we're going to fast track our training because of inflationary increases in hotel and travel and the training costs. Or someone may have said, I can go ahead and kind of load up on supplies that I know I need for projects that are in the pipeline for this year already to avoid inflationary increases. But that wasn't budgeted that way because it was a little bit beyond the norm.
Because last month we were pretty much right on the money for expenses, but now we're $400,000 in the hole, so to speak. But like you said, a lot of that was just the timing of the expenses coming in a different month than evenly spread out.
So far, yes, sir, it is. And in either January or February, we had this kind of upside down condition, and the ship kind of righted, and then we've gotten to this point, and it's a little bit upside down again.
And I know we have a lot of open head count, but I am concerned about our overtime. So unless the commissioners have an issue with it, I'd like Bob to review our overtime. Again, I know you have to have some overtime because we got a lot of open positions that we haven't filled, so people are pitching in and working longer hours, so that's understandable. But I don't want to burn all of our overtime budget before we get to June or July and have none left for the second half of the year. So if he could take a look at that, work with you just to analyze the departments and make sure all that overtime is really necessary.
Certainly. And the only other thing regarding this I'd note is that so far, we've only had one change to the expenditure side of the general fund budget.
Right.
And that was the gasoline and oil budget for Public Works, which is not reflected here because it was not approved. It'll take effect with next month's financials.
Okay.
So this is showing, again, it's just depicting visually what we've just discussed. Revenues were very, very slightly, I mean, on this scale, really, it's statistically even. There at 76,000. And the expenditures we've just talked about giving us the, as of now, this surplus in red, deficit, I'm sorry. So if nothing changed from here, we would end at approximately 28.5 million of fund balance. And our actual is about 26 million. And as we've said, it drops steadily through the year until the property tax revenues begin to come in to replenish. So these are the SPLOST bonded projects where we had 26.2 million. We've expended through March 21.6 million. Those two largest cost projects for bonded projects were, of course, the courthouse renovation and Riverbend. Riverbend has come online, but this is as of the end of March, and there are still going to be some expenditures related to that that will come in and increase that 21.6. And there are some other projects in the bonded stuff, but those were the largest two. And then this is just SPLOST, not the bond that was issued so that we could fast track projects, the actual receipts coming in from that which the voters approved. We're 38% into this 4-year collection period of 48 months. March represents the 18th month of collections. And we've collected approximately $7 million greater than budgeted to this point.
So we paid $14.4 million towards the bond, including principal and interest? Is that what the bond service means?
Yes, including the current year set aside.
Okay.
We've had one interest payment in April, at April 1st.
We got another one coming up in the second half of the year, right?
Yes, October, the principal payment and another interest payment.
So we're over halfway through paying that bond off.
We're getting there.
Yeah, good. All right, is there any questions for James? Is there a motion to accept the financials as written?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Commissioner Staton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioners Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. That passes on a 3-0 vote. Thank you. All right, this is our first public comment section, so if anyone calls in with a specific topic or a request, then we put them here. Or if you have any question about or concern about an item that was on the agenda that we showed at the beginning of the meeting, you can come up and comment or ask us a question about that. But we'll start with the BAB subdivision. I think Mrs. Grammer.
Yes, we had a public meeting not too long ago. Some of you were in attendance. We have Gold Star Investments is wanting to put essentially row houses at the entrance to our neighborhood along Dug Gap Road. The county doesn't have any zoning that prohibits multi-houses on less than a half acre, these in the case of less than a quarter of an acre, where the driveways access Dug Gap Road and potentially cause a traffic problem. In 2020, Goodwin Mills and Kaywood did a study of the traffic along Dug Gap Road for the city of Dalton. It's determined that more than 14,000 cars travel Dug Gap Road each day, with numbers expected to reach 18,000 or more in the next 5 years due to the residential subdivision development increase in traffic on Dug Gap Road. As a result, the city of Dalton is moving to move traffic off of Walnut Avenue by doing a cut-through and a roundabout at the entrance to Shields Road there. In addition to that, they're widening the road and putting in turn lanes down through Dug Gap Road. Now, where we get into trouble is if the county does not develop some zoning rules where you can't have multiple driveways close together off of Dug Gap Road, the traffic's going to quadruple. 20 years ago, the mosque came about because the county did not allow a condominium development to go on that property because of the issue with traffic on Dug Gap Road. We have a petition of more than 270 people who do not want these row houses on Dug Gap Road between Dug Gap Elementary and the red light at the entrance to Glen Cove subdivision. In addition to this, just to show you a perfect example of the county's lack of zoning, we have 40 acres along the north bypass across from Windermere subdivision. We had Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, in cooperation with the city of Dalton, come up with a plan for a high-end grocery store behind Pam Bevel's and a 5-story senior living condominium complex with a rooftop deck overlooking Hag Mill Lake. I had Goodwin Mills and Kaywood come up with a new plan that'll make us twice as much money instead of breaking even, and I can walk it right through your zoning department. I can squeeze 40 houses, low income, 1,800 square foot or more or less, in 15,000 square foot lots on that property, and just walk it right through, just like Gold Star did on Dug Gap Road. Something's got to be done. And this is with 2 entrances. We need to follow the plan that was established in 2018 and adopted by this board, that areas that are residential and rural in nature that are supposed to have half-acre lots or more continue to maintain half-acre lots. And that's exactly what the 2018 plan that this board adopted and supplied to the state says. Now, granted, we need more housing. We just don't need low-income housing. Young professionals don't want to live in 1,800 square foot houses on less than a quarter-acre lots. That's workforce housing, as they say, which is exactly what David Pennington and I have been trying to not do on the 40 acres on the bypass. We've been trying to do something that would get the people who are advancing in age out of their houses so young professionals can move in. By not adopting appropriate zoning rules and laws, and by not enforcing the ones that we have, What you're doing is saying, we just want workforce housing. If you want good stuff, annex into the city, which is exactly what our neighborhood association's been talking about doing, because the county doesn't have any teeth to your zoning laws. And if you did, the house at the entrance to our neighborhood would not still look like a pile of rubble. We went to the trouble of suing them. They don't care that we have sued them. We've attached their house. We've attached their property. It's in foreclosure. The county went to the trouble of suing them on Monday. And according to Robert Smalley, since they have a building permit that can go on indefinitely, the building materials, rocks and debris they have in their yard, there's nothing they can do about it. So if we're not going to have teeth to our rules and laws, why do we want to live in Whitfield County? Why not move to Catoosa County or Gordon County, where they have stricter rules? Because Whitfield County doesn't have any rules that we're willing to put teeth in. We need to put maximum limits on building permits. If you've got a renovation or a fire or something, it doesn't need to sit there for 2 years like this house has. And they say they're not living in it, but they are, which is breaking the law. When I went by there at 5:30 this morning, their cars were in the driveway. When I went by there at 11 o'clock last night, their cars were in the driveway. But we're not doing anything about it. We're not enforcing the rules we have, and we're certainly not strict enough on our zoning. You're going to have a major problem on the south end of Doug Gap, because what's happening is all of these farms are being bought up. And if developers see they can just put a house on the face of Doug Gap and move along and move along and move along with a house on the face of Doug Gap, you're going to have a huge traffic problem. The city's already seeing it, and they're working to resolve it, but the county doesn't seem to care. That's all I have, Carla.
Yeah, if you ever get the petition to Blanca, we'll definitely log that in. Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize if this rambles. I had not really planned to speak, and I'm going to try not to repeat what Amy has said. Although my subdivision is not as adversely affected as a bad subdivision, example, there's not going to be a subdivision within a subdivision, and it's not going to be at my own personal back door, I'm still opposed to these proposed row houses. These row houses do not fit the area that they are being put in, and they will definitely be detrimental to our property values. Not to mention the additional traffic hazard that's going to be created by these buildings on Doug Gap Road. The traffic on Doug Gap is bad enough, as Amy has mentioned, and especially there around Doug Gap School. This is not where we need that kind of traffic put. These are our kids that are at stake. I mean, yes, there's a fence there around the school, but still, anyone who travels the area understands the traffic that goes on there in that area. It's bad enough coming off of Foster Road, trying to get onto Doug Gap as it is, let alone then you're going to throw these on top of us. I don't see why we need to increase the danger to the school area. I find it sad that there are zoning ordinances in place, but apparently no one chooses to enforce them. I'm going to refrain from saying a lot of things that I would like to say due to the nature of time and that it is a public forum. But as a lifelong resident of Doug Gap, I'm not exactly thrilled with the fact that zoning has been ignored. However, if this is allowed, then it also becomes obvious to me that our elected officials do not care about the residents of Doug Gap, what the residents of Doug Gap want or do not want, and apparently are only concerned with the profits of one individual and his company. Obviously, you're not concerned with what's legal and what's right if you do allow this to happen. And additionally, How about the eyesore at Buckingham and Gap? When is something going to be done about that? I have to drive by it every day. Yes, they are living there. As someone who has been out in the wee hours of the morning, it's not just 5:30 in the morning or 11:30 at night. I have been out in the wee hours, and there is someone living in that house.
Can I get your name and address just for our minutes? Sorry about that. I didn't
My
catch
name
it.
is Carla, C-A-R-L-A, last name Ripley, R-I-P as in Paul, L-E-Y, like Ripley's Believe It or Not. I am at 1088 Glen Cove Drive, Dalton 30720.
Okay, thank you. Are there additional comments on this topic or on other items that were on our agenda? Mr. Long?
Yes, my name is Darrell Long. I live at 4310 Troy Lane. My concern is what was in the newspaper, that we're building a $17,500 parking lot at the new Riverbend Park, so there will be ample parking for tournaments. I was up there. These tournaments are handled by a company that's leasing our park. So apparently we've built a $13 million park for a rental. These people have it every weekend. They have regular employees running tournaments, and now we're going to build them an additional parking lot so their tournaments will go smoother. That's not a very good use of my money. Another thing that upset me in this article was the fact that we built Riverbend Park and we didn't have the proper land lay to put the parking in that should have been put in. Well, that was bought not by most of you gentlemen, were not on the board. But that was a big mistake. I mean, that's what you have people that goes in and make studies and stuff. Somebody should have looked at this land before we bought it to tell that the park wouldn't fit. But to give my tax money $17,000 for an additional parking lot so these people that rent it on the weekends can have parking is just, you need to go up there. I went up there weekend before last. They had a tournament. There was no parking. If I had kids and I wanted to go up and make use of the picnic tables, you didn't know where to park. We had a grand opening for this Riverbend Park. Grand opening. The gymnasium ain't open. The multi-use field ain't open. There's a lot of things up there. The walking track on the outside is not open. What is open? The part of that park that we could lease out. That's open. And we got the lease going on. And that's not what county government's supposed to do. We're not supposed to be building rentals, and we're not supposed to be looking after the interest of people running tournaments that's leasing our parks. And then on another thing, I'd like to kindly know what we're collecting rent being we're in the leasing business.
Sure.
Thank you. My name's Jim Meadows. I happen to live in the Babb subdivision that we're discussing here. Barry, you live in the neighborhood with us, and I just want to draw your attention to what these ladies have already expressed about the traffic situation, and not necessarily on the volume that could come, which that will inevitably happen, especially with the cut-through that's being discussed. But the thing is, if you're there turning off of, is it Shannon or whatever, you're turning on to Dugout right there, you know, by the little creek bridge there. And let me tell you, they come over that hill with that green light, and they're running pretty good when they come over the hill. And then you take into consideration on the other side of that creek, you're talking about 4 driveways or more. I don't know exactly how many, but it would not be conducive for someone that is trying to get on the Dugout, and suddenly somebody's pulling out of a driveway right there, and here they come over the hill running wide open like they do. And it's just a semi-dangerous area now that could be a lot worse with these houses built along Dugout Road. I just don't see how someone could approve that. And then you just go up the road, I mean, not even 100 yards, and we have our school zone. And I was coming home the other day southbound on Dugout, and people just trying to get their children picked up and get in and out of the school system. They literally were stopped coming north on Dugout, 6 cars long, and there was 3 or 4 still trying to turn into the school to pick their children up during the hours. And we stopped, all of us in the traffic, and took turns going into the incoming lane and going down, passing the 6 cars and getting back in. And I'm not saying that's an everyday occurrence, but I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. So you take what goes on at the school in a school zone, which, you know, hopefully they're slowing down some, and then you take what goes on with the normal traffic coming through Dugout. And you know, occasionally you get the crazy ones coming through there wide open. But then you take everything else and talk about putting 4 houses with driveways, entering that right there, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know, but I just wanted to say that, and please y'all have that in consideration when you're looking at all this, because it's something that will affect our neighborhood, possibly the safety of somebody and all that. So go along with that. And that thing down there on the corner that continues to exist, that is an insult to our county. Because let me tell you, when you drive by and you see what's going on there in the entrance to that nice neighborhood, and you see all that, and you slow down and look, and they turn around and give you a nice hand signal every time you go by, and ask Sheriff Chitwood. I believe they were kind enough to give him a hand gesture one day too.
Oh, nice.
So anyway.
Well, yeah, that's why we're prosecuting. Courts move slow, though. I definitely agree with you on that.
And to reiterate what he just said, there was a fatality right there just last year. So people fly over that hill, but here's the thing, the speed limit's 40 on the other side of that hill. It's not 35 till you get into the school zone, which is right where he proposes to put those row houses. So, you know, they come over the hill doing 40, you're lucky if you don't get hit pulling off of Buckingham as it is. And then if somebody's pulling out off of Foster, you've got a whole nother situation there too. If you pulled out of Buckingham and you're trying to get up speed because somebody's flying over the hill, but you can't because somebody's pulling out off Foster, you're gonna get hit one way or the other. I can't tell you how many times I've nearly been hit. In addition to that, really quick, I emailed Mr. Civic after our meeting last. Still don't have an answer as to why we've allowed a subdivision to be created inside of a subdivision. No answer. Seems to me like that should be against the law. I mean, at the very least against zoning. So I'd still like to know why we've allowed a subdivision to be created inside a subdivision.
Okay. Any other comments on the agenda? Okay.
They've been talking about.
Just your name and address, please.
Lola Gunter, 2686 Dugout Road. I'm just south of the school. In addition to all that's going on, since we got our Dollar General store, which nobody in our neighborhood wanted either, but we got it, now we have tractor trailer traffic. We used to have that stop down there at the little carpet outlet thing that was down there, and now we have continuous tractor trailer traffic through there. So same hill she's talking about, and they're coming off of there like you wouldn't believe. So are we gonna wait for a fatality, you know, for some of the school kids before we stop that? That's become an ongoing thing all hours of the night now, tractor trailer traffic. So I'd like somebody to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Ms. Grammer, if you have a signed petition, I think Blanca needs to
Yeah,
sign.
I asked her to give it to Blanca. Yeah.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we meet again. I just got a few words. When we talked down at the school, or the park, we were supposed to know how all this came about, but I hadn't heard anything. We agreed I believe, and some of them can correct me, that it never should have taken place. But yet, the day after, I think he got his building permits. Now, something's still out of kilter. I didn't buy my house down there. But let me ask y'all a question quickly. I know Barry's got one. I don't know where John lives now. Or you, I know where Rodney lives. Do y'all have any junkyards in y'all's community? No answers?
No?
How about stacks of houses, little bitty houses? I'd just like for somebody in politics to explain to me how so much can go wrong and never be fixed. You know, voting's coming up. I like the job y'all been doing, but I'd like to see a better job. Because I'm not above leaving Whitfield County, by no means. I hate to, because I've lived in it most all my life. But I was raised. Bullies don't run over people, but they don't run over me. We've got a good group of people down there. Now, I've seen cars come down that hill at least 60 miles an hour. But I would entertain an answer. How the building permits went ahead and finished when we were, I understood, going to find out how it all came about.
Well, we don't approve building permits here. I mean, if he'd asked for a rezoning, we would approach that. But our county administrator, you guys have filed a complaint with the state, and we're following up on that. So we have been working on that and looking at ordinances, but this stuff takes a lot of time, just like the junkyard, as you call it, which nobody thinks that's right or legal, but you got to prove it. You got to get the sheriff involved. You got to get the courts involved, and we did follow through with that. We were in court yesterday.
That's why we vote on people to do a job.
Yeah. Judges included, yeah. And the
Absolutely.
governor passes the law
I've
on
been
how
up
we can
there-
seize
I've been
property,
up there.
not us. We can't pass the law on
Every
that.
time we went to court over that mess.
And now we're with you in the court, so we're on the same side.
Except you can't do anything about it because he's got building permits. We need to limit times that building permits can be.
I have to check on that. Building permits they expire after a certain time. You have to get them renewed, or if you haven't made progress, you don't get them renewed.
Inspector's office told the court that he could hold that indefinitely. So we need to fix that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Who supervises the zoning? I mean,
There's a zoning board.
I'd like to have, I think I'm gonna put a subdivision inside my own subdivision as well, since it's obviously okay. Yeah, sure. Put a few houses.
Okay, we're going to let her speak.
Okay, my name is Margie Painter, my husband Bobby that just spoke. I just want to say a few words. 32 years ago, we bought our home there. And we raised our son. We've seen a lot of children raised in that subdivision. I get a little emotional about what's going on because we're getting no help from our elected officials. We go through the channels. We go to the building inspector. And our first complaint against Sanford and Sons was that they were dealing salvage out of a residential home at the entrance to our neighborhood. The building inspector, Monday, in court, told us, oh, that's the first I've heard of that. I said, well, Greg Williams, the previous building inspector, certainly knew about it. We talked a lot to him. In fact, we go to the same church, this church right here. And Greg has asked me, what has happened? I said, Greg, same mess that we had before. Nothing's getting done. So we need some teeth in the laws. We need backbones of our commissioners to stand up for all of the people. My husband and I, and many of us in the subdivision, we're in the autumn and the winter of our lives. And we don't necessarily want to pick up and move. But when we are accosted at the entrance to our subdivision by men knocking on the window and saying, "What are you looking at?" From people that just stop. Jim Meadows can tell you, he was answering a text message, and they stopped on Jim's, knocked on his window. I mean, and they put up signs, and women cannot walk with their children without them being harassed. And it doesn't make you feel safe. This is not what we want in our neighborhood. And this is what we need you guys to do, is help us to get this straightened out so it doesn't happen to anybody else. Because it could happen in your back door. I was told Monday that if you don't like it, you need to move into a gated community. And I'm like, okay, it could happen in a gated community too.
Yep.
You know, it could. But at any rate, what you gonna do? You can't call Ghostbusters.
Right.
We've gone to everybody and we've followed the channels and we've done everything. But yet our people, their hands are tied. They've got this. I want to know who we go to, how do we get laws changed so that we are protected? So will you commit to help us get this done? That's my question.
Well, I don't know what laws we have control over because we have to follow state and we have to, the sheriff is law enforcement. We have our attorney and we've engaged him to help you and be on your side, but we don't enforce laws. We don't have any kind of police powers whatsoever here. But like I said, we're with you. We're trying to help, and that's why we were in court with you on Monday. I mean, I don't know who told you that comment, but that wasn't appropriate, obviously. But we're in agreement. He needs to go. He's already been.
That made that comment, actually.
Yeah, well, we don't have gated communities except for one, so there's not very many in Whitfield County anyway.
Exactly. And so we just want to live out our winter of our lives in peace and not feel like that we're going to be attacked or accosted when we go in and out our subdivision.
Well, we're not giving
I
up.
had one of my best friends come to visit me. They pecked on her window and accosted her. That's not what we need, people.
Nobody wants to live with that.
Nobody wants to
that's
live.
fair.
You know?
We'll
So
get him.
thank
We'll get
y'all.
him. We're not
Marty
giving
and
up.
I have talked with our state representatives, and they tell us it's 100% y'all. 100%
All-
zoning
Well, as far
and
as-
enforcement is y'all, local.
That's
so
zoning.
that's why we're here.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
So
We
we
can't
don't know
seize the
what to
property.
do. The ball keeps bouncing from this one to that one to another one, and we keep dancing the dance, but we want to get something done.
We haven't
Okay.
given up.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
Yep.
the job that y'all do. I know a lot of it is thankless, but I, for one, appreciate the job y'all do. I just wish that you would, some way, we could figure out how to do it a little better
Gotcha.
and get it done. You know, the buck stops here, and somebody's got to be the buck stops here person. If it steps out of bounds a little bit, so be it. They stepped out of bounds a whole lot.
Yeah, no doubt. They're
Okay.
manipulating the system, there's no doubt.
Thank you.
Not yet. All right, are there any other comments?
I'm Allison Klebish. Do I need to spell that last name for you? I can't. It's complicated. C-H-L-E, B as in boy, I-S-C-H. I live next door to the Painters. I've got two girls, ages 8 and 11, and one of the things that we did, especially during COVID, was we went outside and walked our neighborhood. It got to the point where we live Buckingham, we're on Marion, we would have to go around and we would start getting the death stare and have to go back the other way. You shouldn't have to do that in a neighborhood. You also shouldn't have to tell your 8-year-old and your 11-year-old that nothing's getting done because it's dealing with the government. We've expressed our opinions, we've expressed our concerns, but nothing's gonna get done. And every day, my kids go, oh, the crazy people are out there again. They've read inappropriate signs. They've seen inappropriate things hanging from trees that God knows what it is. Barry, you've seen them. Try explaining to an 8 and 11-year-old they can't go around their neighborhood because it's not safe. And I can't sugarcoat that. And unfortunately, that is the reality. But someone's got to stand up for our kids. We should have a neighborhood where we can walk around freely without worrying about our safety. So I'm speaking for the children. And I know a lot of young people my age, well, not young anymore, but people my age are looking for housing and that kind of stuff. They see the neighborhood, the entrance to the neighborhood, they don't give it a second thought. They're going to see row houses on Dug Gap Road and the chaos during a school day. They're not going to give that a second thought. I send my kids to city schools just because I teach in city schools. We chose to live in the county for a reason. Larger lots, it was not as crowded. You put those row houses in there, it's going to depreciate the value of our houses. It's going to add more traffic. Might as well move into the city then if that's what we're going to be getting. So there's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, well. You don't have to, I don't want you to fabricate anything, but you can call 911, yeah. Well, he doesn't have an occupancy certificate any longer, so that's.
They told us that we had to prove it, is what they told us when we were in court on Monday.
Right. Well, obviously that happened today. Today's Monday, so.
No, last Monday.
Okay, I haven't spoken with our attorney on that, so.
In addition to that, as a neighborhood, we sued them to clean it up, to enforce our covenants and restrictions. And we have now more than $25,000 in back fees that Judge Morris gave us at $100 a day fine on the house. Mm-hmm. They have been in bankruptcy on the house for 2 years. So the fines just keep accruing on a piece of property that's never going to have anything done about it.
All I can do is we'll stay on them. We just have to follow the laws, and those are state laws. I don't know what the state rep told you, but to seize the property or to enforce those are state laws. We're happy to enforce them. That's our job, and our county attorney, and that's why he was in court. So he's skirting the law, and we just have to work through the laws until we can get him out of there. It's not easy. I mean, I don't have police power, so we have to get the judge's order, and then we can get the sheriff to get him out of there. Oh, we demolished 19, but we went to court on all of them. Yeah, we did a bunch of them last year as well. You have to follow those laws too. We took down a lot of houses last year, but this one is a little bit.
But, according to Robert Smalley, there's nothing he can do about it. So, because it's got building permits.
Right. I don't have an answer on that.
But someone has to oversee all of this, right? Who oversees building permits? Who's overseeing the zoning? Why is this allowed to happen, A, at that house? Why is this allowed to happen, B, at Mr. I'm going to build a bunch of row houses? Who is he personally dealing with? Dare I say paying off? That things are allowed to happen that really shouldn't be happening here. I mean, Whitfield County, are we that podunk?
Yeah, the ordinance and zoning laws, I mean, they're 20 years old, so we committed to looking at those, and we are. Even the subdivision ordinance doesn't affect the lot sizes that you guys were asking for. That's another ordinance, so it's a complicated process. We agreed to look at them this year, not next year or 2 years from now. We agreed to work on those, and we are looking at those. But we also have to answer the complaints from that you filed on the water, so we're working on that. And we went to court like we promised, so it's slow moving. That is the law. That is not necessarily just Whitfield County. I don't think you'd have, if somebody wants to skirt it, they can skirt it in Catoosa just like they can down here, but all we can do is keep pushing forward and not give up, and that's what we're doing. And we are going to look at both of those ordinances, but that also, that's just the way they are. They're 20 years old. They need to be updated. We're committed to updating them. He's getting those permits because he's following the current ordinances that are decades old.
Very clearly not strong enough.
We're committed to looking at them for sure.
But it's not slow moving for him, is it?
He's following the current law. That's right.
But it's not slow moving.
Yet we've had this plan since 2018 that's sitting on a shelf collecting dust.
That's 4 years. Slow moving for him.
Okay, I do need to move on now. The next one is on the ordinance on engine braking. That is something that was brought to our attention. We covered that in our last meeting, so this is our second reading on a new ordinance that limits jack braking, as it's often called. Most of the cities outlaw that already, but we would like to outlaw that in the county as well. Did anybody get any feedback on the engine braking ordinance that we proposed last month? Any concerns with the verbiage on it or anything from the commissioners?
Make a motion to be adopted.
Motion to approve the new ordinance on engine braking by Commissioner Robbins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. That passes on a 3-0 vote. The next one is the second reading also. It was recently passed by the City of Dalton. They want to reduce the size of their dwelling units to encourage more apartments and workforce housing for mixed-use properties like commercial and residential together. So again, this was passed by the City of Dalton City Council and read last month. So they can encourage more additional apartments. This matches the surrounding counties, I believe, around us and other major cities in northwest Georgia as far as the square footage. It only affects the City of Dalton. Is there a motion to approve the zoning change?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Thomas. Any further discussion?
You got that right? Statement.
Staton, yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. We have an appointment to our Whitfield County Community Development Corporation, sometimes called the CDC. We have an opening there for several months, and a person who's willing to serve, Dr. Nikki Starling.
Make a motion we appoint Dr. Nikki Starling to that board.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins to appoint Dr. Starling. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. We have some rezoning. I think all of these were approved by the planning board. We can take them individually or as a slate, except for B, which was not approved by the staff or the planning and zoning board. I haven't heard of a compromise. We encourage the developers and the homeowners to get together on that, but it was not approved for that rezone on Mill Creek Road, I should say. Do you want to take them individually or all together? Any preference?
Take B out and approve the others. So,
Motion by Commissioner Thomas to do A. It should be C, D, and E. There got a little typo there. Take all of them together and approve them except for Crow Road Holdings. Is there a second to approve all but Crow Road Holdings?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. All right, is there anything we want to do specific on Crow Road Holdings, or just accept the denial? We took it out separately.
We haven't heard a,
Compromise?
I'll make a motion to deny it.
Or we could put it, we can also put it on hold or send it back. I don't know.
But I'll make a motion to postpone it 1 month,
Postpone it, see if they can get together on something.
but it will go through the planning.
It has to go back. Yeah, we can send it back. That's totally acceptable. Motion by Commissioner Staton to send Crow Valley Road Holdings request back to the Planning and Zoning for reconsideration. Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Passes on a 3-0 vote. Am I in trouble, Blanca?
It was Lee and Harrison that was denied, sorry. And then Crow Valley was approved.
I don't think that's right. No, the motion,
That's what it says. They denied Harrison and Lee. The Crow
that's not right.
Holdings was approved.
I spoke with them after that. They did not approve it.
Oh, okay. That's the recommendation.
Which one did, what's the other one? The recommendation? B, right, Crow Road. You're saying they approved it to rezone it. That was
I'm not
denied.
saying that. I'm saying that's what it says.
Octavia?
The action to approve the recommendation of the planning commission on all of them?
Yeah. Yes.
So the,
Which the motion from the staff was to deny it.
Correct, so that's, the action of the board was to approve the recommendation of the planning commission on A, C, D, and E.
Right. And then on B, Crow Valley, we just sent it back. So we accepted their recommendations on all 4 of those. Which one of them was to deny.
okay, so you're denying this one, and then that one's not approved?
We're sending it back.
So you're not, I mean, because
We're,
Crow
ex-
Valley
we're accepting their recommendations.
is approved.
It was to approve the staff recommendation, which was to deny it.
For Crow Road?
Yes.
Even though it says here
On
that
Crow,
we're going
are you
to,
saying Crow Road
A unanimous recommendation to,
this is Crow Road Holdings. I'm looking at that one.
there was some discussion
this is being
on that.
sent
They
back.
were trying to get some more lots, but I guess the thing to do is what we did.
but this is Chattanooga Valley. This is Chattanooga Road. It's not on Chattanooga Road.
Okay.
It's on
I don't know,
Mill
that's
Creek
just what I have.
or Amanda. It's on Amanda Road or Mill Creek.
There's one on Mill Creek and the second one.
Yeah, you're getting a, yeah, there is another one for Crow, yeah.
Yeah, he,
Jeffrey Lee and Brandon Harrison, that one, we already approved that. So that's what the situation is. Yeah.
You already approved the recommendation denying.
Right. I think we're clear. So yeah, Brandon Harrison had 2. That's why it's confusing, yeah. There's an annexation in Varnell for one parcel there that's listed, and there was no land use that I could see objection for that parcel. Is there a motion to approve the Varnell annexation?
so moved.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. And a second parcel also in Varnell, single parcel, no land use objection noted. Is there a motion to approve this annexation into Varnell?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on 3-0 vote. We've got a design request, and Kent, if you're coming forward, yep. This is for $56,350 for engineering work. That's Houston Valley Road and Mount Vernon, which is a quite busy. I think it's a 2-way stop now. Been a lot of accidents and injuries at this intersection because everybody thinks it's a 4-way stop, but it's not. And even if it was, I think people blow by it. But The slight suggestion I would have on this one is it is an ideal place to put our first roundabout. And so we would like the engineering study to evaluate if that's actually true and what the cost would be for a roundabout. It wouldn't change the engineering cost. It may change the construction cost. That's to be determined. But the engineering cost would be the same to evaluate the option of just a regular traffic light, turn lanes, et cetera. But if the commissioners are okay with it, I'd like to consider a roundabout there. I've talked to a couple citizens. They are proven to be safer and a little bit more efficient than a red light, stopping at midnight and nobody's coming, but you got to wait for the light to change and those type of things. So what do you think, Kent?
Well, the best feature of the roundabout is that typically it takes the high-speed T-bone crash out of the equation.
Right.
A traffic signal should also meet GDOT recommended warrants for a signal. We shouldn't install signals in places where they don't meet the warrants for a signal because traffic signals in and of themselves also bring different rules to the intersection. And people, when they don't follow those rules, then you end up with accidents. So we want to make sure we install signals where they're warranted. This intersection, as you said, lays out very well for a roundabout, and we're going to look at both options, see if it does meet warrants for a signal, and then look also at the construction cost of both and see which one is the better option for the intersection.
And I think GDOT, well, of course, we'll have to see if GDOT would approve a red light there. We don't really know at this point yet.
Well, they won't have to approve it, but we should follow their guidelines for approval.
Oh, just their general guidance,
Right.
okay. But hopefully we can consider a roundabout. I have talked to a few citizens there. They don't, I know roundabouts people aren't used to them necessarily in the Whitfield County, but I think they were open to it in this area. I think it would really help make an efficient flow, but we'll just let the engineers decide and go with the facts.
Okay.
Any concerns with that from the commissioners? Is there a motion to approve the design work for Atlas of $56,350?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. This does go against the SPLOST, right? I failed to mention that.
It does, 2020 SPLOST.
2020 SPLOST. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. The Park and Recs, Brian, I don't know if you want to come forward or not. This was basically we're ratifying this order. I know the citizen was concerned about the cost for the extra spots. One would be for emergency vehicles and one extra 100 spots, and also a sign.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
I think we missed the sewer project update.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll get him to give us an update. Yeah, I went past it. I didn't have it on the slide here. Go ahead, Brian.
I just wanted to kind of speak on the comment. Really, at the weekend, I didn't do any car count for weekends. The count that we're having a problem with is through the week for our rec teams. So that's basically why we need the extra parking. The numbers for the parking lot for weekends, you know, you're just talking about 4 ball fields. Those numbers work. But when you put the soccer games and the baseball games together, that's where the numbers don't work. So basically, it's through the weeks what we really need the extra parking for, not on the weekends.
And the FIFA soccer field, it's fully open and operational?
Yes, and the outside walking track is operational
It
also.
is now, right. Yeah, we did have a grand opening 2 weeks ago. I didn't walk it.
The fire marshal has not approved inside our building. We have a temporary CO right now because our elevator keeps failing. That's something that we can't do, and I just don't feel comfortable opening up the indoor walking track without having an elevator for people to get up and access it without using steps.
But the vendor's working on it?
Right. Wednesday is hopefully the third and final meeting for it, so we hope. There's new code in place for elevators now, and it's something to do with a camera's got to come up and see the individual that's trapped in the elevator, and that's kind of what's failing. So it's kind of beyond out of my hands, really. So we're just hoping to get that solved. We do allow people to come in and walk during the day right now, just walk down below if they want, or if they want to use the stairs.
And the basketball courts are open too, right?
Right. We just don't make it officially open, but you know, and of course now on Saturdays we're only open on rentals, and unless you guys want me to add more staff and pay more staff. So, you know, we have to be limited on how many hours we're in there just because we can't really afford right now to.
But none of the local leagues use any of the fields, not just Riverbend, but any of the other fields on Saturday and Sunday. They're just
No, we play
at their
everything
request.
through the
It's not like
week.
they're not available. We don't.
Right.
We make them available. They don't schedule practices
Right.
or
We
tournaments.
do have people that rent our fields on weekends, and yes, it does help our revenue, and it helps offset our cost to the citizens. I mean, that's a $300,000 offset for our rec, so I think it's well justified, of course, but
But no leagues have come to you and asked, can we have a weekend league or?
if we schedule rec teams on a Saturday, they cancel. They will not play.
They don't play.
Our local people don't like to play.
Parents or coaches,
And
whoever.
mainly because you've got people that do both. You got people that play rec and travel ball, or they just want to go camping and have their weekends to themselves. So that's basically what we do. And the biggest problem we're having parking is, you've got 2 or 3 soccer games going on, 4 baseball or softball games going on at the same time through the week is where you're having trouble. And where we're talking about parking, I'm doing a count every night what we park in there. We're getting up to 80 cars in there a night. And plus, it's also a little more convenient to walk across down there on that bottom. And this is just that little spare field that Kent and I had graded out for future development. So why not develop it into half a parking lot anyways?
Commissioner Robbins, it's in your district. Any questions or concerns?
Based on Director Chastain's explanation, I make a motion to be approved.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Robbins to approve the parking lot and the signage. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. And again, that is a ratify, so this money is already allocated to the park. Money's money, but it's not new money that we're putting in from the general fund or even from the SPLOST. It was already allocated.
Correct.
Item 16, there's an SRO agreement with the Whitfield County Schools. They have signed off with the sheriff to provide the same officers as last school year for this coming fall, but an additional detective is being added. And they do refund us on a per-cost basis plus benefits. So it's a cost, there's no profit in it, but they do reimburse us for the actual salaries and out-of-pocket benefits that the officers in each school, cost.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 3-0 vote. All right, now we will take public comments again. This is on any topic. It doesn't have to be in advance or on the agenda, just anything that's on your mind or a suggestion. Any general public comments? All right. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Staton.